Hello everyone and welcome to a really awesome game from the Sharjah Masters 2019. It comes as a suggestion from a user Aman Koli, so thank you for that. I've never seen this game and I don't know how I've missed it, as it's really, I don't know if it's indeed Firouzja's Immortal, but you guys will be the judge of that. Aman Koli suggested the game while saying that this is probably Alireza's Immortal. So without further ado, let's check it out. Alireza's opponent is from round 1 of the 2019 Sharjah Masters, Mila Zarkovic, international master, women's international master from Serbia, and it's quite an amazing game. And I just realized my board is again weird, so let me just fix that. There we go. Yeah, I don't know, sometimes the interface does this. Without further ado, let's check it out. Firouzja with the white pieces opens with e4. We have c5, the Sicilian defense is on the board, knight to f3, d6, and now c3. Firouzja goes for the closed Sicilian for the moment. We have a6 and now g3, preparing to fianchetto the light square bishop. We have b5, Mila does the same, she wants to play bishop to b7, grab hold of this diagonal, and now Alireza doesn't fianchetto the bishop, but rather strikes in the center with d4. So he opens up the position, and here c captures on d4. There is one game in the database where b4 was actually played. It was from 1987 in a game between Grigori Serper and Igor Novikov, where Serper was able to win this game very easily, sort of a miniature, and also it was the year I was born, if anyone's interested. But other than b4, here in this game we have c captures on d4. We have knight captures and now just bishop to b7, developing the light square bishop. So of course bishop to g2, continuing development, adding more protection to the center, and knight to f6. Now we have castles by Firouzja, and now e6, and now rook to e1. And if you look at this position, it seems like everything is perfectly fine for both white and black. Black can just play bishop e7, castles bring the knight into the game, so everything is as it should be. But it's not that simple, because here if you just continue without thinking that there's anything to the position, you might play something like bishop to e7, and this loses on the spot, because now e5 and there's a double attack here and here, and it doesn't matter what you play. If you capture the bishop, let's say bishop captures, then just e captures on f6, and again you traded pieces, but both of black's bishops are under attack, and you're just gonna have to give up one of them. And if you don't give up give it up like that, you might play something like bishop you could even play this, but it doesn't matter. Yes, you are attacking the knight here. Bishop captures, attacks the rook, so e captures on d4, you're gonna pick up the rook here, and after, for example, d captures here, you're gonna trade queens, captures, and now anything for white doesn't really matter. The position will be winning, as white is up the exchange and black doesn't really have anything to show for. So instead, after rook to e1, we have knight f to d7. Here, making a very serious decision, saying that the king will be staying in the center of the board for quite some time. Other than this, you might play something like queen d7, just add protection to this bishop and then continue development. But okay, knight f to d7, and now comes a4. Firouzja says, alright, your king is in the center of the board, time to open up some files. The idea is that if b4, which is kind of intuitive, you want to push this pawn to b4, really mess up white's harmony between pieces. But the problem is knight d5 is coming, and this is just bad for black. There's really not a good developing move, and of course capturing the knight is off limits. Then you just recapture with check from the rook, and now it doesn't matter. If bishop e7, knight f5 just wins the game, and if you don't do bishop e7, you might try knight to e5, block the line, block the file like this, but then just f4, attack the pinned piece, and that's it. So instead, after a4, we have just b captures on a4, and now rook captures on a4. This is not necessary, but Firouzja has a very clear idea of what he's doing. We have bishop to e7. I will remind you, it is as of move 11 now that this position has never been reached again. And now, well, you could continue with knight to d5 here. It might be a bit too soon, because if you go for this idea now, then just captures, and the problem is the bishop is already on e7. Knight f5, it doesn't really after knight e5, there really is no threat. If f4, the knight comes to g6, the knight now also defends the bishop on e7. Knight f5 doesn't really do anything. You can just castle, and black is perfectly fine here. So Firouzja goes for the rook to b4, attacking the bishop on b7. That's the plan, rook a4 to b4. And now you could move, well, you can't really move the bishop. You could play something like bishop to c6. It looks a bit passive. Then the knight can be developed. You could play rook to a7. That's one option. Mila goes for knight to c5, and it does make sense. Defends the bishop on b7. This is an excellent square for the knight. Next, you're gonna castle, and everything is perfectly fine. But not really. Firouzja had something else in mind. So feel free to pause the video here and figure out what Alireza played here while I give you a couple of seconds. And if I forgot to mention, these are all classical games, an hour and a half for the entire game plus 30 seconds increment per move. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on not doing anything weird. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, knight to f5 is fine, but there is a forcing way to do things here, and that's rook captures on b7. That's the move Alireza played. With knight captures on b7, you have to recapture, and now only now e5, opening up an attack towards the knight here. And the problem is you don't really gain anything by closing the position. This is what Mila played, as it does seem to be the only move, but there really isn't anything better. Here, Firouzja just continues happily attacking with knight captures on d5. And now, while you want to just allow white to remain here, you want to castle to safety and say, okay, you know, just leave me alone. Even that doesn't work, because here, if you just ignore white and just castle, here comes knight captures on e7 with check. Queen captures, and now queen to g4. Really, really awesome. The queen aligns with the king. The bishop still slicing over through this diagonal, and, well, ideas like bishop to g5 to f6 are coming. So, sort of to play it out for you, you could try something like rook to a7, try to activate those pieces on the queen side, but this just loses terribly. Like I said, bishop g5 attacks the queen, and there's not much. If queen e8, just bishop f6, threatens checkmate, and if g6, just queen g5, and there is no defense against queen h6 to g7 checkmate. So what you could do, for example, after queen g4, is ignore everything on the queen side, play something like king to h8, at least bishop to h6 now is not an idea, but still bishop to g5 attacks the queen, and after the queen moves, now you go queen to h5. And the bishop to e4 is coming, and this just shows how strong the bishop pair is. For example, knight d7, you're going to bring the bishop to e4, threaten checkmate, and after g6, queen h6. And again, what do you play here? Queen captures on e5, let's say, grabbing that pawn. The queen can now also help out with the defense. Knight to f3 now, attacking the queen, queen to g7, and now, okay, black defended, but now you start collecting that queen side that black had to leave undefended. For example, rook a7, now bishop goes back to e4, and white is just better here. If captures, doesn't really matter. Whatever black plays, you have two bishops for a rook. Two bishops for a rook is quite enough, and this will be completely winning for white. Not only that, white already has a passed c-pawn. So after Alireza played this knight captures on d5, there really is no way to decline it. You have to accept it if you want to continue this game. So e captures on d5 was played, but now comes knight to f5. And this is all just very, very confusing. What is Alireza even doing? Okay, he's attacking the g7 pawn. If that falls with check, then let's say king f8, bishop to h6. You get the idea. Everything is, you know, falling into place. So you can't really allow this. So here, castles. This is in fact the strongest move by black, but it is insufficient. Bishop captures on d5 now. So again, what do you play here? Well, it's not easy. That knight is still hanging there. If the queen moves, this knight can pick up the bishop with check. The queen is still coming to g4. There's going to be some checkmating threats here. Bishop coming to h6, always an option. So how do you defend this? Well, here Mila played bishop to c5. It does make sense. Get the knight away from the get the bishop away from the knight, so it cannot be captured. Also, you're threatening that f2 square, so if the f file opens up, you might have some pressure along the f file, and it controls the knight here very, very nicely. However, here Alireza plays one of the greatest moves ever. I could ask you to pause the video here, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to show you the move and then explain it to you, because it's just super, super difficult. You can pause the video if you want. I mean, I can't really stop you. to, but here Alireza played b4, and b4 is such an amazing move. B4 is often the greatest move in any position, you know, when you're playing white. So, you know, keep that in mind. But here it's just so strong. The point is Alireza wants to play bishop to queen to g4, go after that g7. The idea, if you go after it now, then black defends with g6, and now what do you play? Okay, you could go for knight to h6 with check, then the king goes here, and then bishop to g5. This is of course possible, and this will be winning. For example, f6, you can play e captures on f6, but now rook captures, and all of a sudden, while white is still winning, you have some worries here. The bishop attacks the f2 pawn, and you have to still, you know, work out how you're going to win this game. And while this is completely winning, and Firouzja could win this, he wanted something more. He wanted here, in this hypothetical position after queen g4, g6, he wanted to play e6, but e6 here does not work. E6 here does not work because the queen just picks up the bishop on d5, and now you don't really have anything. If you capture on f7, rook captures, and black is perfectly fine. Not only that, black is winning. And this is where the b4 move comes to mind. b4, and now all of Alireza's ideas become possible. Here the problem is the b4 pawn cannot be captured. If you capture on b4, then queen g4 will also attack the bishop while threatening checkmate. And now after g6, you're going to go knight to h6 check, king to g7, and now bishop to g5. Attack that queen, and now the point is if queen captures on d5, then it's not a problem. Just bishop f6 check, king captures on h6, and now queen to h3 will be checkmate. So the queen cannot capture on d5 here after this, but f6 can be played, and now the problem is that the bishop is on b4. You just capture on f6, rook captures, and now you pick up this bishop, and well, black is completely tied down here. If you go for this bishop grab, queen captures on d5, just rook e7 check, king to h8, and let's say bishop captures on f6 will be checkmate. So this does not work after b4. b4, you cannot capture it, you have to do something else. So here Mila goes back, bishop to b6, but now Alireza's plan can be completely you know, fulfilled. He plays queen to g4, g6, and now the move becomes possible as the bishop is now here and not guarding that e7 square. Here just e6. And that's the point. The e6 is just crushing, and the point is now the queen cannot capture here because there's no bishop on c5 guarding e7, just knight e7 check, and oh, you lose the queen. So here, after e6, queen to f6 was played, but now, while you can win this position in many ways, for example, there is a very nice idea of just e captures on f7 with check, king h8, and the rook e6, clearing the queen from that f6 square. Basically, you want to clear this diagonal, and once the queen moves, doesn't really matter where, queen d8, bishop b2 check, and that's it. You just lose. You have to start giving up material, and then it's going to be checkmate. It doesn't really matter. So here, after this queen to f6, while you could do that, Alireza went for the even simpler idea, e7. The rook is under attack, and now there's nothing to be done here. Rook e8 was played, but now feel free to pause the video and try to find the move that ends the game on the spot while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on, again, not doing anything weird like capturing this knight. I mean, this is no time to be capturing knights. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it's bishop captures on f7 with check. This is what Alireza played, and it was in this position that Mila resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. Problem is, you could capture with the queen, you could capture with the king, you could move the king. While all of this is possible, none of it works. For example, if queen captures, just knight to h6 with check. And you're not even interested in winning the queen, because after king g7, you're gonna play bishop b2 check, king captures, and now just queen to h4 checkmate. The bishop controls this entire diagonal, so the king is unable to go back. And if you don't capture with the queen, you might capture with the king, but it's also insufficient. Just queen to c4 with check, and the king has no moves. This is covered by the pawn, this is covered by the knight, this is covered by the queen. So you have to block here, and then just queen captures will be checkmate. And the third option after bishop captures on f7 check is king to h8, but this is also insufficient. Now we just, you know, okay, you don't get checkmated, but you suffer tremendously after bishop captures on e8. You just lose the rook. Once the bishop moves, the pawn is promoting. Doesn't really matter what you do. If knight d6, let's say you go after the bishop to control the queening square, you just move the bishop with tempo. Wherever, doesn't really matter. You just want to queen this pawn. And if black does not allow this, let's say knight c6 guards the queening square now twice, you just play anything. Bishop b2 attacks the queen. That's it. Queen captures here. You're just gonna play queen to h4, and there's no defending checkmate. Whatever you do, you're getting checkmated. Or you could play some weird moves like queen g7, knight captures queen, but we're not gonna cover those moves. So after bishop captures on f7, Mila resigned, and an amazing game by Firouzja from the first round of the 2019 Sharjah Masters. And I don't know how I missed this game. It's really weird that such a game would elude me, because I'm a huge fan of such games. I don't even remember this. I know I was following the games from the Sharjah Masters, I think from the previous 3 years, but it eluded me. So thank you very much to Nd4 for suggesting this game, as it's quite an amazing one. So that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I would like to thank Vroko Psichik, Mr. Hoodie Guy, John Nicely, Laura Waldrop, and Juan Pablo Barrera for a contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing the coverage of the Morphe saga, checking up on your wonderful suggestions, and whatever else happens in the chess world. So thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your weekend.